Hi there, welcome back to another Crypto Dave video. It's Friday, which means another crypto interest rates and news update. Today is the 19th of November 2021. And apologies in advance, I'm a little bit under the weather at the moment, so apologies for my voice, croaky voice, and if I have a kind of coughing fit or anything like that. But hopefully we'll get through the video in one piece. But as always, we start by looking at any new coins or any interest rate changes. And as usual, I've updated all the SwissBorg kind of rates. Nothing dramatic has really happened this week. So I've kept an eye on things, but did a bit of an update last week, a more thorough update. But yeah, just some SwissBorg tweaks, nothing dramatic. Fraction are up a fraction and other coins are down a fraction, but no big changes to report. If you do see anything here that's missing or out of date, do let me know in the comments below, but no big news on the new coins or interest rate fronts. So let's move over to the token prices, and let's start by saying, obviously a really bad week for Bitcoin, down 12.2% over the last 7 days. Really big kind of a pullback, and then about a day or so ago, another pullback beyond that. We're currently trading around 57,000, so we've been as low as I think about 56.5, so we're still towards the bottom of this kind of weekly trend. And this comes on the back of another all-time high earlier in the week. So some really nice rising up and then a big sell-off. So we shall have to see what happens over the next week. I imagine next week we're going to start to see a rise back up to the upside. There's still quite a bit of leverage in the market, but a lot of those slightly over-leveraged long positions have been wiped out now. And most of the coins here have been following really along with Bitcoin. You've got Celsius Network down 9.3%, so a fraction better. Nexo down 13.4%, so a fraction worse. Yield App down 6.2%, a bit better than Bitcoin. SwissBorg has had a really good week, up 24.2%, but the standout performer again is Cryptocom, up 45.5%. It's currently trading over 50 cents. It was up to I think it reached a high of about 58 cents a couple of days ago, but obviously everything's pulled back a little bit in the last day or so. But congratulations to Cryptocom and SwissBorg. We've been mentioning over the last few weeks, we've been seeing nice rises in prices of a few of these tokens. Nexo down this week, but it's had a really good run up over the last sort of like 4 or 5 weeks. SwissBorg, nice run up over the last 7 days after a pretty poor performance. Crypto.com, fantastic over the last few weeks, really big run up last week, about 80% and another 40% this week. Celsius Network down 9.3%, so fractionally outperforming Bitcoin, but it has been doing pretty poorly over the last few months. I've been sort of suggesting that maybe as each of these kind of like coins pumps kind of like in turn, then maybe the turn of Celsius and SwissBorg would come up. Now it looks like SwissBorg's had that kind of week, that really nice kind of like pumpy week. We'll see if that happens to kind of Yield App. But Celsius, the only one really of these tokens that we kind of cover that has really had no decent price increases over the last couple of months, 2 or 3 months really. It's been down all the way, so yeah, really disappointed for those kind of Celsius holders, and no real sign that things are going to kind of turn around. I think often these big pumps up in kind of price for some of the kind of smaller tokens particularly is more down to sort of pumping and dumping than potentially sort of underlying kind of like new technologies, underlying new sort of features and stuff like that. But despite that, yeah, a bit disappointing I think for Celsius. It's now edging down towards that kind of like the bottom of the top 100, only a fraction ahead of kind of Nexo, and it's been up substantially higher than this in the past. So be interesting to see whether any of this kind of good news gets passed on to Celsius. We've had some substantial kind of increases over the last like 2 or 3 months for a huge number of altcoins, and Celsius just not participating at all in those kind of price rises. So be interesting to see whether they do in the next few months, but certainly not looking good at the moment for Celsius holders. And then moving on to some stories this week, we're going to start with SwissBorg. So I've been a little bit scathing of SwissBorg, their rates particularly over the last few months, and they are obviously trying to do something about this. We had this additional 25% about a month or so ago now, which hasn't really resulted in any additional kind of yields. In fact, I think probably across the main coins that they cover, the yields have actually dropped since they're doing that extra 25% of kind of yield. But they've finally launched SwissBorg Yield 2.0. Now this is just for the CHSB token, so this is SwissBorg's own token. There's lots and lots of information. You can read through this entire page here, and there's also quite a useful how will it work, a sort of like explainer here as well. Lots to read through here if you want to. I'll let you do that that in your own time. But if we just scroll down to this graphic, basically what they're doing is changing the reward rates for CHSB. So basically those of you with smaller amounts of CHSB will earn higher amounts than those with larger amounts. So basically it's just implementing a tiered system effectively for CHSB, very much like some of these other platforms have done for Bitcoin and Ethereum and some of these other, where you'll earn a higher rate on the first chunk of crypto you hold with them, and then a decreasing amount over and above that. So there's 5 different rates here. So you've got up to 2,000, 2,000 to 10,000, 10,000 to 100,000, 100,000 to a million, and then a million and above. And if you use this slider, it's quite good. It shows you the actual rates for each of these kind of tiers. So if we put this right the way to the right hand side, you can see all the tiers now. So 15.91%. This is for a standard account. You earn obviously double that for the Genesis Premium, but if you were a Genesis Premium holder or Community Premium holder, you were more likely to be further up the kind of up the ladder here than if you're a standard account. But for standard account, which is what we use to compare all the different kind of platforms, 0 to 2,000 CHSB, you get 15.71%, then 2 to 10,000, 5.61, 10 to 100,000, 4.51, 100,000 to a million, 3.3, and then a million and over, 2.42. And this just applies to the rate. So you'll still get the 15.71 on those first 2,000, 5.61 on that next 8,000, etc. But their idea behind it is that it works very similar to a lot of kind of tax systems or a lot of the other platforms with other kind of cryptos, where if you're a smaller kind of holder, you can earn a slightly larger rate, but if you've got a huge number or a huge amount of kind of crypto, you will earn lower rates at the higher kind of tiers. So they've portrayed it as a way of being more kind of inclusive, for allowing people to be more kind of invested in the ecosystem. So earning more for the first 2,000, you'll be more likely to get involved in the kind of ecosystem. Then when you get to 2,000, you could become obviously then a Community Premium member. So really just trying to encourage people to buy and hold the tokens. Whether this will have a big effect, I have my doubts. I don't think it's going to make a large effect about how many people are holding CHSB. The only reason really to hold CHSB is to become a Community Premium or Genesis Premium member, and the rates for cryptos are just not good enough across the platform as a whole. So although this might entice people to hold on to a few coins that they might otherwise have got rid of, I don't see it as being a big influx of new users buying and holding CHSB. So unfortunately, I don't think this is going to necessarily have a massive positive effect on the kind of price, but we shall see. I could be completely wrong, so we'll see what happens over the next few months. As I said, there's lots of information in these 2 pages here, linked in the description below if you want to find out a little bit more information about how the system works. And then moving on to Nexo. A really exciting story from Nexo here. They announced this, I think it was 3 days ago, but they're going to be doing a new buyback. So this is buyback 2.0, and they're going to be buying back $100 million worth of the Nexo token. Now, the way this kind of works is that they buy back at kind of market price. The idea that you're withdrawing liquidity from the market, so therefore putting a positive sort of price appreciation kind of onto it, so a bit of kind of buying pressure onto the kind of market, so they'll constantly be buying kind of tokens, which will hopefully have an upward effect on the price of Nexo. Nexo has been doing pretty well over the last kind of month or so. So they formally did an additional buyback. That was only 12 million, and it did result in quite a nice price increase for Nexo. So we shall see what happens with this 100 million buyback, but it is a large amount. They hope to have it completed over the next 6 months, and as always, the coins that have been purchased will be in a particular address, this investor protection reserve, and these will be vested for 12 months, so they'll be held for 12 months after they've been bought, so they can't actually do anything with these kind of tokens, so they'll just be locked up for a certain amount of time. You can read all about the full amount here, but I think a really positive step from Nexo. They're doing a lot of stuff at the moment, kind of Nexo, really quite proactive about sort of promotions. We've had the, as you can see at the top here, the 17% on Polkadot and Avalanche till the end of November. There's another 11 days of that to kind of go, but really quite proactive in the Nexonomics and some of the things they're doing in order to try and generate positive kind of results basically for people holding the token. So nice to see this buyback program go live over the next 6 months. And then moving on to a story from BlockFi. Now, this was a slightly bizarre one. BlockFi users got an email during this week. Basically, it was a link to a Google form asking for additional KYC information, stuff like that, and it looked very dubious. Now, I didn't actually pick up the email until after I'd read some of these kind of posts on Reddit. But yeah, basically it was a bit of kind of like a mistake. Now, initially everybody thought that they'd been hacked. And that this was a scammer trying to get information. They then clarified it with this additional email follow-up saying, seeing some chatter online about emails that went out earlier today from BlockFi, I can confirm that there was no hack or malicious activity that triggered their distribution. In an effort to satisfy additional KYC requirements for a subset of our clients, incorrect tools were utilised. The emails were sent out by an employee with no ill intent. We truly apologise for causing any concern. There was absolutely not our goal. So obviously they were looking to get some additional KYC information for a small subset of their users, and somebody kind of messed up basically and sent this to, I think, their entire user base. They then sent another email, which was this one, which I got, basically saying if you hadn't kind of responded to it, don't respond to it, we've removed the Google form. This made people, I think, panic even more, because it didn't say then that it wasn't kind of a hack or anything like that. They basically just said, don't share your information. We've removed the Google form. If you have, don't worry, we're concerned about your kind of privacy. But they didn't say in this email that it wasn't kind of a hack. That is what I think led to a lot of people thinking there was some kind of phishing attack or anything like that. They did then clarify it, and there are a lot of people not particularly satisfied with this explanation and still think that potentially there was some kind of malicious kind of attempt, but it could well be, if we take them at face value, just an internal kind of mess up. And this is not the first time that BlockFi have had these kind of emails go out. They were actually kind of hacked previously. Marketing database was hacked, and a lot of it, private information, went missing. Celsius had a similar one, an email marketing list that was held on a third-party server, I think in that case, that was hacked, and people started receiving phishing emails linking to fake Celsius accounts, and actually a lot of people lost money with that. A lot of Celsius users lost money. So I suppose this is just like a story more than ever of be careful when you get email correspondence, particularly if it's anything asking you to go and input your details or anything like that. Don't do it straight away. Make sure that you do a bit of research online, on Twitter, on Reddit or something like that. Make sure it is legitimate, or reach out obviously to the teams themselves and find out whether it is legitimate before filling anything else in. I'd hate to see more people lose coins and personal information through filling in these kind of phishing emails. I'm not saying this one necessarily was, but they have happened in the past. And then moving on to Crypto.com, they have a new exchange dashboard. It looks pretty nice. The full article is here, but you won't be able to see it all unless you log into the Crypto.com exchange. But if you are an exchange user, they have a new dashboard. It does look quite nice. It's tidied up, has some useful kind of information on it, everything in kind of one page. It's like a sort of like a dashboard overview kind of like page. It's pretty nicely put together. So I think it's a bit of an improvement, certainly a large improvement on what they had before on the exchange. So that's nice if you are a Crypto.com exchange user. And then lastly, Celsius. Now I missed this, I haven't actually watched it yet, but there was a debate between Alex Mashinsky, obviously the CEO of Celsius Network, and Peter Schiff, the famous gold bug. Those of you who've been in crypto for a while will no doubt know who Peter Schiff is. He's a big anti kind of Bitcoiner. I think largely he kind of plays to the crowd for publicity more than anything else. But there was a debate. He's debated a lot of different people in the past, Peter Schiff. He generally just shouts them down, shouts over the kind of top of them. But it'd be interesting to see. I might watch this later if I get a chance. If you have watched it, let me know what you think of it in the comments below. But I'll post a link to this in the description below, this Kitco event, and there's a link to the YouTube video of it here. So it'll be interesting to see what comes out of that. I don't imagine particularly maybe anything kind of particularly positive. No doubt Peter Schiff will still be pretty bearish on Bitcoin, despite all the facts that are pointing to a particularly bullish case for it, particularly in comparison to gold over the last few years. But that's it for this month. Oh, sorry, not this month, this week even. Thanks very much for watching. As always, again, apologies for my slightly croaky voice. I'll hopefully be back to normal next week. But look after yourselves. Thanks very much for watching. Hopefully I'll see you on the next video. But until then, have a great day. Bye-bye.